I'm pretty good at keeping terrorists out of cockpits, but I'm not the best speaker. I'll probably get choked up a few times because there's so many great people in this room that came out to help me, especially Tristan Levitt, Jason Foster, and Grassley staff, and of course the Government Accountability Project. For 11 years has represented me and has not been paid a penny. So you already heard what I did. Everything was confirmed in a report by the Inspector General of Homeland Security, and he was forced out of office a week later. I closed not only what Steve just brought up, but I closed 3 other loopholes. For instance, a terrorist with a North Korean passport and a U.S. transit visa that didn't require any screening would smuggle weapons onto a flight from, let's say, El Salvador into Denver Airport, where there's no, where there's central screening. You don't have to go through. There's one screening area, so they didn't make passengers go back through, so it was ideal. And avoiding State Department visa screening and TSA screening, like I mentioned to you, and then get on a flight to London. That's the transit visa. Nobody worried about them because they went. So the terrorists would go into the lavatory, dive in, kill the pilots, and crash the jet. Since my disclosure, most cockpits are still completely vulnerable to a touchdown dive attack due to the lack of only costs a few $100s, but yet a 100% effective secondary barrier system needed when a pilot unlocks the cockpit during flight. And there is a buried report by the TSA that even an air marshal team cannot stop one of these attacks. So a few $100s, the airlines are fighting them, and because they don't want to make the first-class passengers nervous. Numerous members of Congress publicly supported my action. So would a jury of taxpayers, don't you think? But we don't have them under current law since I'm a second-class citizen as a federal police officer whistleblower. The Merit Systems Protection Board, the MSPB, is a small agency tasked with judging all federal whistleblower cases. Agencies confidently fire federal whistleblowers because cases can take 2 to 4 years, and that's on a fast track. FAA whistleblower Kim Farrington case, she was twice remanded to an Atlanta administrative judge, an AJ. By the full board, after the full board remanded, her angry AJ finally held a hearing and took 2.5 years to issue a decision. Can you imagine a jury deliberating for 2.5 years? And the decision was 100% against Kim Farrington. Her 13 ordeal is now gathering dust again at the full board. And of course, her nightmare is not unique. I'm going on 15 years going back to the board. There's no accountability at the MSPB. My last AJ, Franklin Kong, was not removed from my case after both the Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit in 2 unanimous decisions in my favor, and the Supreme Court reversed his 2010 decision and relied on evidence doctored by a manager in TSA who has a top secret clearance still. She was ruled a perjurer by the TSA's Office of Professional Responsibility, the chief. Yet she still goes into a top secret skiff. The guy who the TSA chose to fire me testified before this judge that I was the top performer of the Air Marshal Service. He said I was exemplary. But yet last week, he ruled that despite being the highest performer in the agency, that my 2002 salary rate needs to say frozen. And of course, I was unemployed for 10 years, and to this day, I've taken most of my retirement savings to pay off about $250,000 in tax debt because the agency lumped all of mine into it. So I want to thank Tom Devine for the Government Accountability Project, who teamed up with the former Solicitor General of the United States, Neil Katyal, and none of them have still been paid yet 11 years. So why shouldn't those who pay taxes, federal taxes, be the judge of federal employees who expose federal fraud, waste, and abuse? We need jury trials for federal whistleblowers. Thank you very much.